Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Doing wonderful. It's pretty cold today, though.
It is. It's nice and chilly, right?
It is.
Fall is on the way.
I think it's here.
And it was a really hot summer. So, I'm from Miami, so I'm used to the hot. Like, I don't even like the cold. But now I'm like, okay, welcome, fall. Just don't do too much too quickly. But
Right.
yeah, we're still letting folks in. So give us get everybody in. Right.
Hey, Tracy Stone, are you here?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good
And
morning. How are you
Good
all?
morning. Tracy, what is your real email address? Like what can I send emails to and it get to you?
Why do you say it as if I have aliases all over the place?
I didn't say that, you said that, but I have two email addresses for you, but I'm not sure
Okay.
like which one's the real one.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Email
probably
me
early
from your
part of
real one.
okay. So probably in the beginning during the pandemic, you may have had my personal as well as my work, but for the past 8.5 years, it's been Alliance. So tstone-dino at alliancehealthplan.org. But we went from Alliance Behavioral Health to just Alliance Health. So it's just alliancehealthplan.org now.
Okay.
So you got it noted?
I'm gonna email you right now, and if you
Uh-oh.
don't write me back in 5 minutes,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, will do. Will do.
Good morning, everybody. We are waiting on a couple of other people, I think. Um, and hopefully you all received the agenda and the minutes a day early today. I know Shantae sent out September, but we also sent out some yesterday as well, which were probably August maybe. So we should be able to be kind of caught up. We're getting our agendas out a little earlier than the morning of now. And we've got minutes to approve this time, so I think we're making some pretty good headway. But we won't call to order for another minute or two just to get everybody who's gonna be here in. Um, just 1 second. Good morning, everyone who is just coming in. We will be starting momentarily. I promise everybody we will make up for this delayed start on the back end, so we will be able to give you lots of time back, hopefully. For some reason, although I know we sent it out, Shantae, do you have the agenda for today?
I do.
Okay, would you paste it in the chat and then we can go ahead and get started?
Okay.
Thank you, Nicole. All right. Good morning, everyone. While Shantae is pasting the chat, pasting the agenda in the chat, I just want to go ahead and officially call our meeting to order at 10:09 a.m. Thank you all for being here. Keisha is actually here with us, I believe. And if that is true, I want to just make sure that we have quorum. I think we do, because I think, Shantae, it only takes 3 members. Does that sound right?
Yes, it takes 3. We have quorum.
Okay, perfect. Very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so let's do the approval of minutes, and I believe we are approving for, is it August and September, Shantae?
Just September.
Just September, okay. You should have received those minutes this morning. I believe we could take a moment for everyone to review them now. And if you did not happen to receive them as a member of performance management, let us know in the chat and we will get those to you. But we would like to make sure that we have the opportunity to approve those minutes so that we are caught up in our responsibilities. Okay. If we are good on minutes, I want to entertain a motion to approve the minutes that were sent out for September 2024. Do we have a motion? Or if we don't have a motion, do people need additional time to review them, or would you like to move them to approval in November?
I just had a chance to read over them. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as they were presented.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Tracy. Do we have a second?
Am I able to second if I'm abstaining from the overall approval since I wasn't present?
That is a great question. Um, let's go with that. I think they're two separate functions. I think you seconding to move the motion ahead for a vote, is different from you abstaining from that vote. So I'd say yes. And those who, approve the minutes as members of performance management, please type yes in the chat. As I look here. Okay, perfect. Looks like we can carry. So we have our minutes approved. Shantae, did you get a chance to pop the agenda in the chat? I did not see it.
I did.
Okay. Oh, here it is. Got it. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Oh, well, maybe, okay, got it. I have to download it. Shante, can you help me stay on track? Is this where I talk about, because I had to download the file, is this where I give the performance management update maybe?
The COC ranking competition, the only thing that wasn't on the agenda was a space for public comment.
Got it. Okay. Um, so why don't we go through the COC competition and then we can entertain any public comment? Okay. All right, very good. So I have updates for everybody regarding our COC competition. If your organization is an applicant, you probably have received those updates already, but I'm going to go through and alert the performance management committee about where we are in the process. So let me share my screen. Hopefully I do this correctly. All right. Okay, very good. So this is an update on where we are regarding our COC competition. As you know, we've had some preliminary conversations about this along the way. HUD announced it on July 31st. The biggest change this year is that it is a 2-year NOFO. We announced it out to the COC on August 26th. There was a bit of a delay between when they announced it and when we announced it because we had questions and they didn't release all of the information at once and they kind of staggered the release. So we wanted to have our stuff in order before we announced it, which we were able to do. We held an applicant workshop a few days later on the 30th. We had already determined that our priority for COC bonus funds this year would be new or expanded PSH projects. So this year we worked very hard behind the scenes in the lead agency to revise and streamline scoring process as well as the scorecards. As many of you know, if you've done it before, it was a heavily manual process with a lot of math calculations and a lot of time it took to complete those. And so we tried to do our best to revise and streamline that and make it easier for agencies to give themselves an evaluation. There were 13 submissions in this competition. 9 of them were renewals and 4 new project applications, which we were very happy to receive. We had 7 reviewers. 3 of them were members of HSAC, 3 were lead agency staff, and 1 lived experience work group member. We had 5 of those people review new projects and 2 people review renewal projects. We completed those reviews on October 4th. And this highlighted section is where we are now, which is in the throes of working with the project applicants to strengthen overall submissions and the lead agency writing the consolidated application. So we have identified a strategy to improve our scores above last year. We have held some initial review meetings. The final meeting for review of the consolidated application will be Monday, October 21st. So there'll be a lot of writing going on between now and then. A notice will be sent to the COC in advance of that for anybody interested in coming to that final review meeting. I will tell you one of the strategies this year, there was a 35-point difference between the highest scoring COC and us last year. And we scored right at the median score for all COCs. So we did okay. And we still received bonus funds last year. But we want to improve that. And we realized that there were 4 questions in particular that if we improved them in the right way, we would get an additional 30 points in our application. So this year we are focused specifically on those 4 questions for that maximum score increase. And then there are also some lower hanging fruit type scores where we were 1 or 2 points off that we're also going for. But primarily we're focused on those 4 big questions. This is our timeline. Highlighted is where we are. Projects were notified of the rankings and funding recommendations by the evaluation subcommittee. Today, you will see those and you will be asked to accept those for approval for advancing to HSAC for approval, final approval. We typically like to have you all look at them first before we send out the notices, but because of the very tight timeline, we had to get the evaluation subcommittee notices out yesterday to give people time to appeal by tomorrow to deal with all of the other parts of the process. So, you know, it's a pretty straightforward process. There's not a lot of nuance, I would say, involved in this process regarding the scoring and how HUD looks at things. It's very scripted and how we need to do it. So we felt okay alerting the projects about what the subcommittee had recommended. And we also talked to all of the reviewers first. Again, 3 of the reviewers are HSAC members, and at least 1 of them, if not 2, are from this committee. So our next step will be to have HSAC approve our application and funding recommendations at its October 23rd meeting. We will post everything to our website by the 27th, and we will press submit to HUD along with all of the project applications after that by October 30th. Any questions so far? Because I've given you sort of this big overview, but the next phase is going to be talking about the funding amounts and notices that went out. So do we have questions about the process so far?
I had a quick question, Anthony. You said we were, as a collaborative application, I think you said we fell in the middle. Was that compared to across North Carolina or across the country?
Across the country.
Across the country. Okay.
Yeah, so we scored, I think the median COC score was 151 last year, and we got 150 points. The highest scoring COC got 185. The lowest scoring got 55.
Oh, okay.
So we scored, you know, in the top 70-ish%, I guess, of COCs, but we also realized that in 4 questions, we could be among the top scoring COCs if we got those 4 questions right.
Okay.
And we've already started to see where we can make some improvements in those areas. So,
all right. Well, that puts some context around the information that you shared. So thank you.
Thank you. By the way, the maximum collaborative score is 200. So when you hear that we got 150 last year, there was about a 50-point difference. And again, the highest scoring COC got 185. So, I want to talk about the available funding. So, you know, depending on when information goes out, in this competition and how early we are versus when HUD is ready, because a lot of COCs start to get information out even before HUD does, just because it's such a complicated process and a lot of moving parts that we try to do things before, and we will do the same next time. But HUD sends us the amount of money that we're eligible for and the funding buckets. And so what you see here in this slide is this top part where it says COC number and name, PPRN, estimated ARD. These are all amounts that we get as a lead agency directly from HUD. And there are explanations behind those, which I will show you. But essentially, our PPRN is what they call a preliminary pro rata need. And they base our COC bonus and our DV bonus on that number. So the COC bonus is based on 12% of PPRN, and the DV bonus is based on 15% of PPRN. And then what you see underneath that, next to that is COC planning. So that is non-competitive. That is the amount of money that we can submit a planning grant for, and we will get 127,000. And that covers our staff time in funding the competitions and doing all the work required throughout the year to provide TA and manage the processes and work with the organizations. So we always apply for the planning grant, and typically we get it. And it covers most of the lead agency staff and the work that we're doing behind the scenes for these processes. On the next slide, we'll talk about what is tier 1 and tier 2. I know you guys have heard a lot about that. So we'll break that down for you in hopefully a meaningful way. What you see underneath that upper part is the snapshot of our grant inventory worksheet. So this is public information. The link is on this slide. You may have to just, if you Google search 2024 HUD GIW, the website will come up. You can put in our location and see this information specifically. These are the amounts that the projects were eligible for renewals to receive. So, Tracy, I'm sorry, go ahead, please. I see your hand.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing this screen. Is in terms of the annual renewal amount versus the PPRN, and you said that's the preliminary prorated need amount. Are those adjusted by HUD every year based on their formula or related to like housing costs? What determines that amount? And you may have said that because I was taking notes as you were talking.
Well, there's two things to pay attention to. So the COC bonus and the DV bonus is based on a percentage of the preliminary pro rata need, which is an amount that HUD determines, I guess, based on nationally what funding is available for a particular geographic area, right? And then for the estimated ARD, which is annual renewal demand, that is the amount that if you add up the GIW amounts for all the projects, it adds up to that estimated ARD, 2,017,000, okay? Then what happens is they say tier 1 is 90% of that, and tier 2 is the other 10% plus the bonus, but we'll see that in the next slide. Does that help?
Yeah, it does in terms
Okay.
of breaking that out to just
Yeah.
understand, because I know every year it adjusts, but I didn't know whether or not it is adjusted by the PPRN more so than just the score and the estimated RAD.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that the PPRN is based on kind of your geographic area, right? And ultimately the funds that are available to spread across the country, right? All right, so if there are no other questions here, these are the amounts that you will see later in the selection criteria for the evaluation subcommittee. But let's go to the next slide. So this is typically what happens. So in the Durham COC, just like many other COCs, renewal projects are, for the most part, I hate to use this word, but like guaranteed, right? Like you can be relatively sure that renewal projects are going to receive their money. It's what our estimated annual renewal demand is based on. So we always want to try to get renewal projects prioritized in tier 1. Okay. And tier 1 is defined as 90% of the annual renewal demand. So if you remember the previous slide, we had that 2,017,000. That's what Tracy was just asking about. If we take 90% of that, we get 1.8 million. Okay. So when we are ranking projects, we are ranking them according to the score, and then we are tallying their renewal amounts up. And hopefully everybody fits in the renewal tier 1 level. If not, then we have to move to tier 2. And in tier 2, that is the remaining 10% of annual renewal demand, because remember tier 1 is 90%, so there's 10% out there. That is tier 2 plus your bonuses. So I've listed what that looks like here. And you can see that we typically will put all the renewals in tier 1 and all the new projects in tier 2. Okay. There are occasions, and you will see a little bit of that here, where a new project might make it into tier 1, or a renewal project might make it into tier 2. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just want to show you all kind of the process that we go through for where the projects fall. So if this is making sense so far, I don't see any hands up, so I think we're probably good to keep going. When we get to this screen, you will
Anthony,
see, yes.
did you want to maybe give some explanation for like what being designated for tier 2 means, since it's not that guaranteed tier 1 status, that there's a second selection process for the competition when projects are in tier 2?
Yeah, so again, all of this is based on the amount of money that HUD has to go around, right? So HUD believes that tier 1 is considered, I would say, reliable versus guaranteed, right? You can pretty much rely that you're going to get 90% of your annual renewal demand every year. This other 10% plus bonus funds may or may not be available depending on the amount of money HUD has. So if projects make it into tier 2, there is a different competition that happens within HUD that is based on what is happening around the country and how much funding is available. So there are details to this. They are included in the NOFO. I won't go too deep here, but essentially tier 1 is kind of like your reliable funding, and tier 2 is how well did your consolidated application score in the national competition. And if you're among the higher scoring ones, you get tier 2 money that is available before lower scoring COCs will get access to tier 2 money. Did that hit it, Ricky? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yep, thank you. So this next slide just shows us the document that went out yesterday. You know, because some of you are actual applicants, what I will say is we sent out 2 different notices yesterday. We had to do a revision. We had a project that asked for an amount above what was allowed in the GIW for a renewal ask. It was intended to be an expansion project, but was not executed as an expansion project. It was executed as a renewal, so we were not able to honor the increased ask. And so we sent out a revised notice that aligned the funding to be what we needed it to be. So if you remember a couple of slides ago, we had the tier 1 and tier 2. This is how you see it. And I'll also go back and say, remember this amount, the 90% of ARD at 1.815, okay? If you add up ranks 1 through 10, that comes out to that total. for tier one, 1.815. Okay, and then the bottom is all of the rest of the allowed amounts that we've asked for. So you can see, for example, that our COC bonus here at the bottom middle is 304,809. So when we come over to this request, this is probably a bad, let me do an easier one. You can see the DV bonus at 381,011 at the bottom. That DV bonus was requested by Family Promise of Wake County, and their rank is at the bottom of tier two for that request. Okay, so that means that everything else would have had to be completely funded and accepted, and there's enough money available even for that to be considered for funding. So remember we talked about, we try to put all of our renewals up front, and we did. We had a full reallocation of $300,000. And that was the LGBT Center for this coming funding year voluntarily reallocated their funding. So that allowed us to bump a high scoring new project up into tier one, at least a portion of it. The ask for that project, you see it listed twice, partly in tier one at the bottom and then partly in tier two at the top. That request, when you add those two amounts together, comes up with the project request for that PSH project. So these are the notices that went out yesterday. We are excited that we applied, that we had, full applications, and that we applied for all potential available money to come to the COC. So when you add all these amounts up, that would bring nearly $3 million to our COC. It's about $2.83 million. So really excited about that. If we're successful, it also introduces a new player into the RRH space in a bigger way, which is Family Promise of Wake County, who's already expanded into the Durham COC earlier this year. So we're excited about what's happening. So from this, we just go into full writing mode. So for this group, what we're asking is that you, these are the results from the local competition. We are asking that you accept these results or ask any questions that you have so that we can advance these to HSAC for approval at their meeting later this month, along with the consolidated application. So I will ask for a motion for acceptance by this committee to advance these results to HSAC.
I guess this will be the same question as Nick's question earlier. If we have to abstain from the vote since we have projects listed here, can we make a motion to approve?
That's a great question. Again, I would say yes. I think, again, there are two functions. This committee, as a result of its sort of responsibilities, right, gets these results first. And so it's par for the course of doing your normal business to advance these. So I don't think you're advancing or seconding the motion is the same as a vote, especially if you've clearly abstained from it. So I would say yes, you can make the motion.
Then that brings me to the next question. We don't have very many members, but at least two of the three will not be able to vote. And I think it's only a few members here after that. It may be
Yeah.
okay.
I would say let's do what we can. I would say let's take the motion, let's put the vote in. If two people abstain and one says yes, or two says yes, I think that's gonna constitute the majority of votes. And this really is more of a informal acceptance of the recommendations. They have to be approved by the HSAC. So this is not necessarily an approval. It is more so an acknowledgement that, you know, you don't see any egregiousness going on in the process, and there's nothing that we need to address before it goes to HSAC, right? Ricky, please.
Yeah, Anthony, exactly what you said. I just wanted to make sure that the folks on this call understand that you, by, providing a motion to accept, you're not saying that these projects should be funded. You're not voting for funding. What you are motioning is that you accept the process that has happened for this competition to take place thus far, and you are accepting the results of the review committee. You are accepting the results of this selection results chart. So whether you are affiliated with an agencies whose name may appear on this chart, you're not saying, yeah, absolutely fund this. You're saying, no, I agree with the process so far. I agree with what the reviewers have decided, that everything has been explained to this point, and I agree that we can move forward. That is what the motion is saying.
Is it basically the recommendations that's being set forth?
Yes. So, can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendations being proposed.
Thank you. Second?
And I'll second it.
Perfect. Okay. I do appreciate this discussion. I will ask in the chat for you to yay or abstain as you feel led. But again, I think, Ricky makes a good point that this is not about a vote for funding, because that happens later in HSAC. This is really just an acknowledgement that you understand the process that happened and that you accept the evaluation subcommittee's work. Ricky, are you saying something? You're muted.
I was saying hi to Benita, who just came in.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. Thank you. Okay, very good. So I will trust that you all have put everything in the chat. My last slide here is just oops, that's not the last slide. Thank you. Thank you to all of you who served as reviewers. You thoughtfully scored the projects and offered comments. And by the way, even those of you that are applicants, we do have feedback that will be offered to you in the coming couple of days prior to your official submission of eSnaps. So you know that every correspondence we send out says, please do not submit an eSnaps, right? And so we will be giving you some feedback that we think will be meaningful as you get closer to submission, and we'll be asking you to dedicate some time to consider that feedback in important ways in your application. I just want to let you know who the reviewers are. I did not say it earlier, but they were Vegas Webson, Nick Periante, Renee Vaughn, Namaya Stamps with lived experience, and the first three were with HSAC. And then we had Ricky, Jeffrey, and Melva on our team as reviewers. This is normal. We tend to pair lead agency staff with community just so that they serve as kind of like a resource for questions or thoughts, or to help reviewers that may not have gone through the process before to get through the process and in a timely way. We had a particularly tight timeline this time, but we've heard some good feedback from reviewers that because we were able to streamline the process in the way we did, it was not overly burdensome with regard to the requirements to do the scoring. So we appreciate all of you that participated in this process. So thank you. I will stop sharing here.
Hey, Anthony, I
Yes.
don't see any votes in the chat.
Oh, okay. We lost Nick, and Nick may have been the only one. I will say that I believe we can go ahead and just accept them. Maybe those of you that are still here. Oh, Nick is back. Maybe those of you that are still here, thank you, Shantae, can type the word accept. So those of you that are committee members, if you type the word accept in the chat, it will allow us to know that you've accepted the evaluation subcommittee results. All right. My only other update is with regard, as you know, we concluded the state ESG funding
Hold
competition.
on, there is someone new in this group that
Okay.
we did not introduce. We typically introduce people first. I didn't see her on there. It's Regina Mays.
Yes. Good morning. So, welcome, Ms. Mays. I want to thank you for being here and acknowledge most of us already know all the other folks, and when we stop sharing, we can see that you joined us. So welcome to the Performance Management Subcommittee. Are you able to come on camera and let us know your affiliation and interest?
I don't think my camera is going to come on this morning. Thank you all. Not only do I do community advocacy work, but I'm a board member for Families Moving Forward, and under Alliance Health, a consumer family advocate, Durham committee chair.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. We welcome you. This is our performance management subcommittee, and so this group is responsible for, kind of performance oversight of our Durham COC system performance measures, as well as looking at project performance, project scoring, and any other assessments throughout the year that we do, as well as just ensuring that our strategy for overall performance is going in the right direction. All right. Since we are here, and before my next update, do we want to take a moment and acknowledge anybody with potentially a public comment? So, at this time, we will recognize anyone who is here and would like to comment publicly. Okay, very good. Thank you. The only other update I had was regarding the state ESG competition, which concluded earlier this year. We were happy to see this past week that state ESG office sent out conditional award letters to the recipients. Those recipients were Families Moving Forward for shelter operations dollars, and Family Promise of Wake County for oh gosh, well, the rapid rehousing dollars, I believe. So those organizations have until next week to go through the process of completing their required forms and the like, but it's just an indication that our state ESG competition was successful. Our regional application was successful, and conditional awards have been sent to the organizations that were requested by our evaluation subcommittee for that competition. So good news all around. And that concludes my update. Shantae, what do we have next on the agenda?
Quarterly performance outcomes.
Okay.
we're broaching that topic, Anthony, about having that be a regular part of performance management.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Ricky. I was like, what? I remember. So, we wanted to just kind of give a heads up to this committee that we've talked about this regularly this past year, but now is the time to begin implementing something new around it. So we, as a lead agency, will be taking a look at our system performance measures on a regular basis and likely reporting that out at least quarterly. And making sure that this committee is fully informed and on top of that. And also throughout the process, offering some education, some technical assistance and the like, so that we all are clear on how our system is performing, what's important to HUD, how we are setting up our strategies and our priorities and our solutions within this system based on what the data tells us. So it is time for us to begin moving into the space of looking at formal reports for performance management and having you all weigh in on and be aware of how our system is performing. Ricky, please add anything.
Yeah. So yes, and in the COC competition process, you all should have received scorecards, whether you were a new applicant or a renewal applicant. And that scorecard basically is going to be what is used to determine future performance, because those are the items that HUD is looking at. And also anything that ties into the NOFO performance metrics that HUD is looking at to score how well your COC is doing, those elements are also going to be a part of those quarterly updates. So when the lead agency does report out, it's going to be on information that, you know, this group already has available to them, which is those performance scorecards that were available during the competition. And I'm sure it can get sent out to all committee members, but it's like an open book test, y'all. You can already see what we're going to be asking, what we're looking at. I would say utilize that as a tool and run it monthly on your projects to see how you're doing, so that when the lead agency does its report at the end of the quarter, there are no surprises. Like you already know.
Very good. It might also be helpful, Ricky, if we think about, you know, knowing when we're going to report out on a quarterly basis and maybe pinging the projects a month before that to say, hey, take a look at your performance. We're going to be reporting out on it next month. And you all get to see how you're doing, and also the opportunity to kind of strategize around places where you might be able to make improvements in your programming or your data. So, yes, very good. Any questions on that? Okay, very good. Thank you. What's next, Shantae?
That's it.
Wow. All right. See, I promised you get more time back today. I hope this conversation has been helpful. I hope you feel good about it. There's a lot of work and integrity that have gone into creating all that you saw today. So we appreciate all of your presence here and all of your commitment to help us get through this process, and look forward to engaging with you all ongoingly and regularly. And we're going to be elevating the conversation in the coming months around our actual performance and, you know, using those tools in your projects regularly. So Thank you all. Thank you all. Any final questions or thoughts as it relates to this meeting today?
We've had 2 people accept.
Perfect.
Is that all that's needed to move forward?
Tracy, did you have something you were gonna add?
Hold on. Hold on. I was going to I was at the office on yesterday and wanted to, and I haven't, I think, gone through my emails, but I have emails from you all, so I'm gonna follow up with you regarding those and what we need to do in terms of our response. So I'll follow up with you.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
All right, everybody, if there is nothing further, I will call us adjourned at 10:53 and wish you a great Thursday.
Do we need a
Morning.
motion to adjourn?
I think we good. It's just 2 of us
Okay.
left. We just good. Y'all just go home and do what you got. Yeah, we're good. We can adjourn and motion and accept and second and all of that.
Well, let's adjourn.
Anthony's being very informal today versus, in the past, we were very much following parliamentary rules and
I know,
protocols.
right?
So,
What is that about? All right, Shantae, motion to adjourn. Go ahead.
Oh, I motion that we adjourn right now.
I second.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great afternoon.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.